In our last session, we set up the margins, mirrored margins, and we inserted some next page breaks, so we have several different sections. Right now, as I look down at the bottom of my screen, I can say that I am now in section number 7. So what I want to talk about next is this header area right up here. Anything you put in the header area will appear on all of the pages at first, although we can adjust that so that I could have a different header in the different sections. And that's what we're going for the next 15 minutes or so. So here we go. So in order to insert a header, we would go to the Insert tab right up here. That's where I'm headed, and click on the Insert tab. And one of my choices here is to insert a header. And when I click on the little pull-down arrow, here comes a list of headers that are pre-created and built into every copy of Word. And I see one here called Banded, and when I click on that, here is something called the Banded header. And as I scroll up and down, you'll see that that's happening on every single page. And if I look closely, it's got a little place where I could click and type in the document title, and that way that would appear on every single page of every single section. But maybe I would like to have different things in each of those sections. Maybe at the top of all the pages of Chapter 1, I want it to say Chapter 1. At the top of every page that's in Chapter 2, I want it to say Chapter 2. So that's what we're going to do. One of the ways I can get rid of this one would be to go up here to the header tools. By the way, notice I am now in a whole ribbon of stuff I can do in the header. And I'm going to click on header. And you'll notice way down at the bottom, there's a choice about remove header. On the other hand, if I know what I want to put there instead of what's here, I don't actually have to remove it before I choose the other thing that I want to have happen there. So watch my screen. Here's the other thing I want to have happen there. So I'm going to go up here to header again. And I notice a choice that says blank. Now it turns out that's different than remove header. So I'm going to click on blank, and you'll see what that does is give me a little placeholder where I can type stuff. And again, right now that's happening on every single page. And whatever I type there would happen on every darn page. So I'm going to scroll way up to the top here. I could use Control Home, of course. And I'm going to click where it says type here. Now, right now you can see it says Chapter 1, the Insert tab, and as I scroll down to the next page, that one doesn't say anything about Chapter 1. If I put Chapter 1 up here in the header, then it will say that so far on every single page, and then we'll talk about how could I change it between the different sections. So that's where I'm headed right now. I'm going to double-click down here in the text to step temporarily out of the header section. I'm going to go select that Chapter 1, the Insert tab, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to cut it. So one of the ways to do that, I can right-click on it, and I'm going to cut it. And then I'm going to go click where it says type here. In fact, I have to double-click, and that's where I'm going to paste what I just cut. And I'm going to say, all right, paste that in here. And there it is. Now, I've got a couple of extra enter keys down here. I'm going to just hit the delete key to get rid of one of them, leave a little bit of space. But now as I scroll down, you'll notice every single page says Chapter 1. Even the pages that are actually Chapter 2 stuff. Here's Chapter 2 pictures down here, but it says Chapter 1 up there in the header. We're going to take care of that right now. But before we do that, I would like you can skip the part where we inserted the one called Banded, and just go up there and click in the header, and click on header and make it a blank one. That'll give you the typing section. And then you're going to do what I did. We double-clicked in the document to step out of the header. We selected the words Chapter 1, the Insert tab. We cut them. We double-clicked on the little placeholder up here, and we pasted them. So join me with that part, and then we're going to talk about how can I make the sections have different headers and footers from each other. So join me in that part thus far. Now comes the part where we have different headers for each section. So I'm going to scroll down. I'm going to go find that area where it says Chapter 2. Yes, I could do a find command for that. So here's my Chapter 2 part. Notice right now up here it says Chapter 1. This is the thing we want to take care of right now. And there is one specific, very important step in here, and I'll stress it when we get there. So I'm going to select Chapter 2 pictures. I'm going to cut it. Right now I'm using Control X. Then I'm going to go up and click in the header part. I probably have to double click to get into the header part. And before I do any pasting, there is something really important to talk about. Notice right over here on this side, it says that this header is the same as the previous header. I don't want that to be true. I want this header to be different from the previous header. And in order to change that, we're going to go right up here where it says link to previous, and we're going to click to turn that off. This is a really important part here. Another thing to think about, do this from top of the document to the bottom of the document. Makes it way easier. If you try to work from the bottom to the top, things get really wonky on you. All right, so I'm going to click on link to previous to tell it I don't want it linked to previous. Notice the little marker that says same as previous is different. And now I'm going to drag across the chapter 1 stuff, and I'm going to paste in the chapter 2 stuff. And if I've done that right, if I've been very careful not to link to previous, I should be able to scroll up here and see chapter 1 in the section above there, and chapter 2 in the section below there, and right now it says chapter 2 on every page till the end. We'll do something about that in a moment. So I need you to catch up with me. Again, just to reiterate what I did. I scrolled down, I selected the words chapter 2 pictures. I cut them. I went up into the header section, I double-clicked on the placeholder, but before I typed anything, I made sure to go over here and notice that it said same as previous, and the way that we got around that was, we went up here to the top and we unselected link to previous. Then we pasted in the chapter 2, and then you should be able to scroll up and see chapter 1 above and chapter 2 below, and things will be really cool at that point. So put that video on pause, catch up to me. Now this would be a really good time to go up and save your document. Go click that little TV set. All right, I'm going to guide you through one more of those, and then you're going to have to do it a couple more times after that. So just to reiterate while we're doing it, I would like to use the find command. I'm going to go to my home tab and click on find. By the way, as I hover over find, I don't know that you'll be able to read. If I zoom in, you won't be able to see it. Control and F is a keyboard shortcut for find. So I'm going to do that right now. Control F opens up my navigation pane, and this time I want to have it find chapter 3. And in fact, it's in there from a similar search that I did before. And here I am now at the part about chapter 3 themes. So that's the thing that I'm eventually going to copy and paste up here, where it currently says chapter 2 all the way to the end of the document. All right, so see if you can remember the steps. We need to cut, but before we paste, we have to make sure we are not linking to previous. So maybe you can do that right now. Maybe you can remember how to do the steps, but I'd recommend watch me one more time. So I'm selecting the text, I'm cutting it through Control X, for example. I'm going to go up and double-click in the header on the area that I want to paste, but before I paste, I notice it says same as previous. That's my enemy right now. I need to not link to previous, select this text, and then paste. I'm using Control V. And so now if I scroll down, I should see chapter 3's all the way to the end. And as I move up, I ought to be able to see chapter 2's up here. And chapter 1's way up here. Chapter 1's. Okay, so that is your job right now. You're going to do that for chapter 3. And then I'm not going to come back and show you how to do it again. You have to go find chapter 4 and do that. Chapter 5 and do that. Remember, the most important part of that is not to link to previous. So you're going to go do that for chapters 3, 4, and 5 now.